You're about to learn something most men will never understand, not because it's hidden, but because they're too afraid to look at the truth. Right now, as you watch this, there are forces at play in every interaction you have. Forces that control who gets respect, who gets attention, and who gets left behind. Most men walk through life blind to these forces. They think being nice is enough. They think fairness matters. They believe the world rewards good intentions. But here's what the great philosophers knew. What Machiavelli wrote about 500 years ago. What Nietzsche tried to warn us about. The world doesn't work the way we pretend it does. And today, we're going to talk about something specific. Something that makes most people uncomfortable. The psychological patterns that exist in human nature. Not because we want to hurt anyone, but because understanding reality gives you power. Before we start, I need you to do something. Press that subscribe button right now. Because what you're about to hear isn't taught in schools. It's not shared in polite conversation. And YouTube might not show you this video again. This is the shadow mind. And we speak truths others won't touch. Let me tell you about a student I once knew. Smart guy. Kind heart. He did everything right. He listened to women. He respected their space. He never pushed. He was the perfect gentleman. And he was completely invisible. Not because something was wrong with him, but because he didn't understand a simple truth. A truth that Machiavelli laid out in The Prince. Machiavelli said this: "It is better to be feared than loved, if you cannot be both." Now, most people hear that and get upset. They say it's wrong. They say it's cruel. But Machiavelli wasn't telling you what should be true. He was telling you what is true. And here's what he meant for our topic today. Not that you should make women fear you, but that respect comes before affection. Always. Think about the men women chase. Think about the men who never seem to struggle with attraction. Are they the nicest guys? Are they the ones who agree with everything? No. They're the ones who command respect first. They're the ones who understand human psychology at a deeper level. Carl Jung once said something powerful. He said, "Everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves." But today, we're going to flip that. Everything that attracts people reveals something about human nature. And if you understand these patterns, you understand power. Now, I'm going to share something with you. 10 psychological patterns. 10 aspects of human nature that most people never recognize. Not weaknesses to exploit like some cheap manipulation, but truths to understand. Because here's what separates a man who gets walked over from a man who gets respected. Knowledge. The manipulator uses knowledge to hurt people. The weak man ignores knowledge and stays powerless. But the wise man? He understands reality and moves through the world with his eyes open. Arthur Schopenhauer wrote that all truth passes through 3 stages. First, it is ridiculed. Second, it is violently opposed. Third, it is accepted as self-evident. What I'm about to share will sound harsh at first. Some will call it wrong. But by the end, you'll recognize these patterns everywhere. Let's start with the first pattern. And this one will challenge everything you've been told. Women don't want equality in every moment of every interaction. They want emotional leadership. Wait, before you close this video, hear me out. Jordan Peterson talks about this constantly. He says that women are attracted to men who can handle chaos. Not create chaos. Handle it. Think about every great love story, every movie, every book. What do they have in common? The man leads, not with force, not with cruelty, but with certainty. Here's what this looks like in real life. When you're making plans, do you ask, "What do you want to do?" Or do you say, "We're doing this. You'll enjoy it"? Most men think the first option is respectful, and on the surface, it is. But here's what she actually hears. I don't have the confidence to make a decision. I'm putting the mental work on you. I'm not leading. Now, the second option? When you make a decision with confidence? Here's what she hears. This man knows what he wants. He's not afraid to take responsibility. He can handle pressure. This doesn't mean she can't disagree. This doesn't mean her opinion doesn't matter. But someone has to lead. And if you don't, she will. And the moment she has to lead in the relationship, attraction starts to fade. Marcus Aurelius, the great Stoic emperor, wrote this: "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one." Stop asking what you should do. Start doing what needs to be done. Here's the second pattern. And this one will save you years of confusion. Women are not attracted to men who need them. They're attracted to men who have a mission and invite them along. Nietzsche said, "He who has a why to live can bear almost any how." When a woman meets you, she's asking a question. She might not say it out loud, but she's asking, where is this man going? What is he building? Does he have a purpose bigger than me? And if the answer is, my purpose is to make you happy, she loses respect. Not because she's cruel, but because she recognizes weakness. Think about every great man in history. Were they defined by their relationships? Or were they defined by what they built? Alexander the Great, Marcus Aurelius, even modern figures like Elon Musk. Their relationships were part of their lives, but never the whole thing. Here's what most men do wrong. They meet a woman they like, and suddenly everything else disappears. Their gym routine stops. Their business goals pause. Their friendships fade. All their energy pours into this one person. And what happens? She pulls away. Not because she wanted less attention, but because she realized she's dating a man with no mission. A man who will abandon his purpose the moment something shiny appears. Robert Greene writes about this in The Art of Seduction. He says, the most seductive people are those who seem to have something more important than the seduction itself. You want to be attractive? Build something. Create something. Have a vision that excites you whether she's there or not. Because when she sees that you're going somewhere, she won't want to be left behind. Now that you understand the foundation, let's go deeper. Because what I'm about to share next will completely change how you see every interaction. Most men think attraction is about what you say, about how you look, about what you own. And yes, those things matter. But they're surface level. The real game happens underneath, in the realm of psychology that most people never see. Sigmund Freud discovered something that shocked the world. He found that most of our decisions don't come from our conscious mind. They come from deeper places, places we don't even recognize. And when you understand what drives behavior at that level, you stop playing checkers while everyone else plays chess. You start playing a completely different game. Here's pattern 3, and this one will explain why nice guys finish last. Women are not attracted to predictability. They're attracted to calculated unpredictability. Let me explain what that means. Machiavelli wrote something brilliant in The Prince. He said, "The lion cannot protect himself from traps, and the fox cannot defend himself from wolves. One must therefore be a fox to recognize traps, and a lion to frighten wolves." What does this mean for you? It means you need both sides, the strength of the lion and the cleverness of the fox. Most men are too predictable. She texts, "You respond in 5 minutes." Every single time. She asks a question, you give the expected answer. Every single time. She suggests something, you agree. Every single time. And what happens? She gets bored. Not because she's shallow, but because humans are wired to pay attention to novelty, to change, to things they can't quite predict. Think about your favorite movie. Is it the one where you knew every plot point before it happened? Or is it the one that surprised you, that kept you guessing? Relationships work the same way. Now, I'm not saying be random for no reason. That's just chaos. Calculated unpredictability means you have patterns, but you break them strategically. Sometimes you respond fast. Sometimes you take hours. Not as a game, but because you're actually busy with your mission. Remember pattern 2? Your mission comes first. Sometimes you agree with her. Sometimes you challenge her perspective, not to be difficult, but because you actually think for yourself. Sometimes you're warm and open. Sometimes you're distant and focused. Not because you're playing hot and cold, but because you're a man with emotional depth. You have moods. You have focus periods. You're not a robot programmed to always be on. Carl Jung talked about this. He said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." And who you truly are is not a one-dimensional people-pleaser. You're complex. You're unpredictable. And that's exactly what makes you interesting. Pattern 4 will hurt some feelings, but it's reality. Women value what is scarce, not what is abundant. Thomas Hobbes wrote about this in Leviathan. He talked about how humans are driven by desire, and desire only exists for things we don't fully have. Think about it this way. Imagine 2 scenarios. Scenario 1, a man who's always available, who drops everything when she calls, who has no other options, who makes it clear she's his only focus. Scenario 2, a man who has a full life, who sometimes can't answer because he's working on his goals, who other women notice, who makes her feel lucky to have his time. Which man does she value more? The second one. Every single time. Not because women are bad people, but because scarcity creates value. This is basic economics. This is basic psychology. Robert Greene writes about this extensively. He says, "The more you are seen and heard from, the more common you appear." So what does this mean practically? It means your time needs to have value. Not fake value where you pretend to be busy, but real value because you're actually building something. It means you don't cancel your gym session to hang out with her. You invite her to join you, or you see her after. It means when she texts you at 2 in the afternoon on a Tuesday, you don't stop your work to have a 3-hour conversation. You respond when you have actual free time. It means other people in your life still matter. Your friends, your family, your goals. She's not the only thing. And here's what's interesting. When you live this way, you don't even have to think about creating scarcity. It happens naturally. Because you're actually scarce. You're actually valuable. You're actually going somewhere. Now we get to pattern 5. And this one is crucial. Women will test your boundaries. Not because they're evil, but because they need to know if you're real. Machiavelli understood this deeply. He wrote, "Men judge generally more by the eye than by the hand, for everyone can see but few can feel." What he meant is this. People believe what they see you do more than what they hear you say. So when a woman tests you, she's trying to see who you really are, not who you claim to be. Here's what these tests look like. She cancels plans last minute to see if you'll get desperate and beg her to reschedule. She pushes your buttons to see if you'll lose your temper or stay calm. She suggests something unreasonable to see if you'll fold or stand firm. She flirts with other men to see if you'll become insecure or stay confident. Most men fail these tests. Why? Because they don't recognize them as tests. They think, She canceled. I should be extra nice to show I'm not mad. Wrong. That shows you have no standards. They think, she's pushing my buttons. I should stay quiet to avoid conflict. Wrong. That shows you can't stand up for yourself. They think, she suggested something I disagree with. I should just go along to make her happy. Wrong. That shows you have no backbone. Epictetus, the great Stoic philosopher, said this: "First say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do. Decide who you are. Then be that person consistently, even when tested. When she cancels last minute, you say, 'No problem, I'll make other plans.' And you actually do. When she pushes your buttons, you stay calm, but you address it. 'I don't appreciate that. Don't do it again.' When she suggests something unreasonable, you simply say, 'No.' No long explanation, no apology. Just no. And here's the magic. When you pass these tests, respect skyrockets. She stops testing and starts trusting, because she's verified that you're solid. Pattern 6 is about something powerful. Mystery. Arthur Schopenhauer wrote, "We forfeit 3/4 of ourselves in order to be like other people. But the men who are truly magnetic, they keep something back. They don't reveal everything. Here's what most men do wrong. First date, they tell their entire life story. They explain every opinion. They share every insecurity. They make themselves completely known. And mystery dies. Think about the most interesting people you know. Do they tell you everything? Or do they reveal layers slowly over time? The truth is, you become more interesting when people have to work to understand you. This doesn't mean lie. It doesn't mean be fake. It means you don't volunteer everything immediately. When she asks about your past, you give the interesting headline, not the full story. When she asks what you're thinking, sometimes you say, "Just thinking," and leave it at that. When she asks about your plans, you share some, but not all. You're not hiding. You're just not an open book that can be read in 5 minutes. Carl Jung said, "The meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed." But transformation takes time. It takes discovery. It takes mystery. So be the man who keeps her curious, not through games, but through depth, through complexity, through having more layers than she can figure out in one conversation. Because the moment she thinks she knows everything about you, the excitement starts to fade. We're halfway through now. And if you're still watching, you're different from most men. Most men can't handle these truths. They want comfortable lies instead of uncomfortable reality. But you? You're here because you want power. Real power. The kind that comes from understanding how the world actually works. Plato once said, "We can easily forgive a child who is afraid of the dark. The real tragedy of life is when men are afraid of the light. The light is truth. And today, we're shining light on patterns that most people pretend don't exist." Let's continue. Pattern 7 is controversial, but denying it doesn't make it less true. Women are attracted to status. Not just money, not just fame, but social positioning. Now, before you get angry, understand this. This isn't shallow. This is evolutionary psychology. This is survival instinct coded into human DNA over thousands of years. Robert Greene writes about this in The Laws of Human Nature. He explains that humans are social creatures, and in social groups, status determines access to resources, protection, and opportunity. For women, historically, choosing a high-status mate meant survival. For her children, for her lineage. And even though we live in modern times, these drives still exist. Not consciously, but deep in the subconscious mind. So what does status mean today? It's not just wealth, though that can be part of it. Status is respect. When you walk into a room, do people notice? When you speak, do people listen? When you set a standard, do others follow? Status is competence. Are you good at what you do? Do you have skills that others don't? Can you handle situations that make others panic? Status is confidence. Do you carry yourself like someone who knows their value? Or do you shrink and apologize for existing? Nietzsche said, "What does not kill me makes me stronger." Every challenge you face and overcome builds your status. Every skill you master adds to your value. Every time you stand firm when others crumble, your social positioning rises. And women notice this, not because they're shallow, but because competence is attractive. Strength is attractive. The ability to handle life is attractive. So stop apologizing for wanting to build status. Stop pretending it doesn't matter. Instead, focus on becoming genuinely competent, genuinely skilled, genuinely confident. Because fake status crumbles, but real status is magnetic. Pattern 8 will separate you from 99% of men. Women are attracted to men who control their emotions, not men who suppress them. Men who control them. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher-emperor, wrote this in his Meditations. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Think about the last time you saw a man lose his temper. Maybe in traffic. Maybe in an argument. Maybe when things didn't go his way. What did you think of him? Did you respect him more? Or did you see weakness? When a man can't control his emotions, he becomes a slave to circumstances. And nobody respects a slave. But when a man stays calm under pressure, when he faces insults without reacting, when he handles bad news with composure, that man has power. Now, this doesn't mean you become emotionless. That's not control. That's repression. And repression always explodes eventually. Emotional control means you feel everything, but you choose how to respond. She says something that would normally make you angry. You feel the anger, but you pause, you breathe, and you respond with calm strength. She tries to provoke jealousy. You feel the instinct to react, but you recognize the test, and you respond with amused confidence. Something goes wrong in life. You feel the stress, but you don't let it control you. You stay focused on solutions. Epictetus taught his students this. It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. Women watch how you handle pressure. They watch how you respond to challenges. They watch how you manage your emotions. And when they see a man who stays solid no matter what, that's when deep attraction forms. Because emotional control signals something powerful. It signals that you can be trusted, that you can handle life, that you won't crumble when things get hard. So practice this. Start small. When something irritates you, pause before reacting. When someone tests you, breathe before responding. When life throws problems at you, stay calm before solving them. Over time, this becomes who you are. And that's when everything changes. We're at pattern 9 now, and this one explains why so many good men get rejected. Women need challenge, not difficulty, not drama, but genuine challenge. Machiavelli wrote something that applies perfectly here. Where the willingness is great, the difficulties cannot be great. What he meant is this: when something is too easy, it loses value. When something requires effort, it becomes precious. Think about anything you've achieved in life. The things you're most proud of. Were they easy, or did they require struggle? The same principle applies to relationships. When you're too available, you're too easy. When you agree with everything, you're too easy. When you have no standards, you're too easy. And easy things get taken for granted. But when a woman has to earn your time, when she has to match your standards, when she has to work to keep your interest, suddenly you become valuable. This is not about playing games. This is about having actual standards. Most men are so desperate for female attention that they accept anything, any behavior, any disrespect, any inconsistency. And women can feel this desperation. It repels them on a biological level. But when you have options, when you have standards, when you're willing to walk away if those standards aren't met, everything shifts. Jordan Peterson talks about this. He says that you need to be a monster. A controlled monster. Someone capable of terrible things, but who chooses to be good. Because if you're only good because you're weak, that's not virtue. That's just weakness. But if you're good because you're strong enough to be bad, but you choose not to, that's real strength. And women can feel the difference. So set standards. Real standards. How do you expect to be treated? What behavior will you not tolerate? What kind of effort do you require from someone who wants your time? And then hold those standards, not with anger, not with lectures, but with simple enforcement. When someone crosses your boundary, you address it once. If they do it again, you reduce their access to you. No drama, no big speeches, just natural consequences. And watch what happens. The right women will rise to meet your standards. The wrong women will fall away. And both outcomes are wins. We've reached the final pattern. And this one brings everything together. Women are attracted to men who don't need them. This sounds harsh, but let me explain why it's actually beautiful. Arthur Schopenhauer said, "A man can be himself only so long as he is alone. If he does not love solitude, he will not love freedom, for it is only when he is alone that he is really free." When you need a woman for your happiness, you become needy. And neediness is the death of attraction. But when you're complete on your own, when you have a life that fulfills you, when you're happy whether she's there or not, that's when you become truly attractive. Because now she's not completing you. She's adding to something already great. Think about it from her perspective. Would you rather be someone's entire world, the only source of their happiness? That's pressure. That's burden. Or would you rather join someone on an adventure? Someone who's already living an exciting life and invites you along? The second option, always. Nietzsche wrote, "He who has a why to live can bear almost any how." Your why cannot be her. Your why has to be bigger. Your mission, your purpose, your vision for your life. She can be part of that journey, but she cannot be the journey itself. When you understand this, everything we've talked about today clicks into place. You lead because you're going somewhere. You have mission because you know your purpose. You're unpredictable because you have depth. You're scarce because you're valuable. You hold boundaries because you respect yourself. You maintain mystery because you have layers. You have status because you build things. You control emotions because you're strong. You provide challenge because you have standards. And you don't need her because you're already complete. This is not about being cold. This is not about not caring. This is about being whole. And when you're whole, you can love from strength, not from need. Robert Greene says it perfectly. The greatest power you can have is the power to walk away. Not because you want to, but because you can. Now you know the 10 patterns. But knowledge without application is worthless. It's like having a map, but never taking the journey. So in this segment, we're going to talk about something crucial: how to actually use this information, how to integrate these truths into your life without becoming a manipulator. Because here's the difference between a weak man and a strong man. A weak man uses knowledge to hurt others. A strong man uses knowledge to improve himself. Plato said, "The measure of a man is what he does with power." And right now, I'm giving you power. The power of understanding. But what you do with it determines who you are. Let's talk about integration. This means taking these patterns and making them part of who you are. Not tactics you perform, but truths you embody. Carl Jung talked about this concept. He called it individuation, the process of becoming your true self. Most men walk through life playing a character. They act how they think they should act. They say what they think they should say. They become copies of copies. But the men who truly succeed, they integrate truth into their being. They become authentic in their power. So how do you do this? First, you must accept reality as it is, not as you wish it to be. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." These patterns exist whether you like them or not. Women are attracted to leadership, to mission, to unpredictability, to scarcity, to boundaries, to mystery, to status, to emotional control, to challenge, and to independence. You can complain about this. You can say it's unfair. You can wish the world worked differently. Or you can accept it and use it. Second, you must start with yourself, not with women. This is where most men fail. They learn these patterns and immediately try to use them to get a girlfriend, to get attention, to get validation. But that's backwards. These patterns work because they describe a high-value man, so you must become that man first. You don't fake leadership. You develop real competence. You don't pretend to have a mission. You find your actual purpose. You don't act unpredictable. You become genuinely complex. Do you see the difference? Nietzsche said, "Become who you are, not who you pretend to be, who you actually are at your core." Third, you must practice patience. Integration takes time. You don't build status overnight. You don't develop emotional control in a week. You don't become truly independent in a month. This is a journey measured in years, not days. But here's the beautiful part. Every day you work on yourself, you become more attractive. Every challenge you overcome adds to your value. Every standard you hold makes you more respected. And unlike tactics that stop working once women figure them out, real development never loses power. Because you're not tricking anyone. You're actually becoming the man these patterns describe. Now let's get specific. I'm going to give you practical steps. Things you can start doing today. Step 1. Audit your mission. Right now, pause this video. Take out a piece of paper and write down your answer to this question. What am I building with my life? Not what you want to build someday. What are you actively building right now? If your honest answer is nothing or I don't know, then that's your first problem. Robert Greene writes, "The future belongs to those who learn more skills and combine them in creative ways." So pick something, a business, a skill, a fitness goal, a creative project, something bigger than getting a girlfriend, and commit to it. Fully. Make it your priority. When you have a real mission, everything else falls into place. You become naturally scarce because you're busy. You become naturally attractive because you're going somewhere. You become naturally confident because you're building something real. Step 2. Establish your standards. Write down 3 things you will not tolerate in your life. 3 behaviors. 3 situations. 3 lines that cannot be crossed. Maybe it's disrespect. Maybe it's dishonesty. Maybe it's consistent flaking. Whatever they are, write them down and commit to enforcing them. Epictetus taught, first say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do. Know your standards, then live them. When someone crosses your line, you address it calmly. Once. If they do it again, you reduce their access to you. Simple. No anger, no drama, just natural consequences. This builds your boundary enforcement, your self-respect, your attractiveness. Step 3. Control your availability. Look at your schedule right now. How much of it is just empty time waiting for something to happen? If the answer is a lot, then you're too available. Fill your time with valuable activities. Gym, work, skills, hobbies, friends, projects. Not fake busy work. Real activities that improve your life. When you do this, something magical happens. You become genuinely unavailable, and scarcity creates value automatically. You're not playing games. You're actually living a full life. And when a woman enters that life, she's joining something already great, not creating something from nothing. Step 4. Practice emotional discipline. Starting today, create a new rule for yourself. When something triggers you emotionally, pause for 10 seconds before responding. That's it. Just 10 seconds. In those 10 seconds, breathe. Recognize what you're feeling, and choose your response instead of reacting automatically. Marcus Aurelius practiced this daily. He wrote, "If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it, and this you have the power to revoke at any moment." Over time, this practice builds incredible emotional control. You stop being a slave to your feelings. You start being the master of your responses, and people notice, especially women. Now, we need to talk about mindset, because everything we've discussed today requires a fundamental shift in how you see the world. Most men operate from scarcity. They think women are rare. They think opportunities don't come often. They think they need to grab whatever they can get. This mindset makes you desperate, and desperation repels everyone. But when you shift to abundance, everything changes. Abundance doesn't mean you have unlimited options right now. It means you know you can create options through your value. Thomas Hobbes understood this. He wrote about the nature of power, and he explained that real power comes from the ability to create outcomes. When you're building yourself, you're building power. The power to create opportunities. The power to attract quality. The power to choose instead of hoping to be chosen. This shift from scarcity to abundance transforms how you show up in every interaction. You stop seeking approval. You start offering value. You stop chasing. You start attracting. You stop hoping. You start creating. And women feel this shift immediately. It's like a frequency change. Suddenly, you're operating on a different level. But here's where I need to give you a warning. A serious warning. Everything I've taught you today can be used for good or evil. Like any tool, a hammer can build a house or break a skull. Machiavelli warned about this too. He said, "Men ought either to be well treated or crushed, because they can avenge themselves of lighter injuries. Of more serious ones, they cannot." What he meant is this: power must be used responsibly. If you use these patterns to manipulate women, to hurt them, to take advantage of them, you become something dark, something destructive. And karma is real. Not in some mystical sense, but in a practical one. The energy you put out comes back to you. The man who manipulates will be manipulated. The man who lies will be lied to. The man who takes advantage will be taken advantage of. But the man who uses these truths to become genuinely better, who leads with integrity, who sets boundaries with respect, who challenges with care. That man builds a life of quality, quality relationships, quality opportunities, quality existence. Carl Jung said, "Knowing your own darkness is the best method for dealing with the darknesses of other people." Understand these patterns, but use them to shine light, not to spread darkness. Be the man who lifts others up while still maintaining your standards. Be the man who leads with strength, but also with compassion. Be the man who knows the dark psychology, but chooses the light path. That's true power. That's true mastery. We're entering the final minutes now. And this is where everything comes together, where theory meets reality, where knowledge becomes transformation. If you've made it this far, you're in the top 1%. Most people can't handle 20 minutes of truth. But you're different. You're hungry for real change. Sigmund Freud once said, "Being entirely honest with oneself is a good exercise." So let me be honest with you about what happens next. Tomorrow morning, you're going to wake up, and you'll have a choice. You can go back to your old patterns, the comfortable patterns, the safe patterns, the patterns that keep you exactly where you are. Or you can start walking a different path, a harder path, but a path that leads somewhere real. Let me tell you what the hard path looks like. It means going to the gym when you don't feel like it, because you're building physical strength and discipline. It means working on your business or career when everyone else is watching Netflix, because you're building status and competence. It means saying no to people who don't respect your time, because you're building boundaries and self-respect. It means sitting with uncomfortable emotions instead of running from them, because you're building emotional control. It means pursuing your mission even when nobody believes in it yet, because you're building independence and purpose. Robert Greene writes, "The greatest mistake you can make is to be continually fearing you will make one." Stop waiting for permission. Stop waiting for the perfect moment. Stop waiting to feel ready. You will never feel ready. Nobody does. The men who succeed are not special. They're just willing to start before they're ready. Let me give you a framework. The first 90 days of your transformation. Day 1 through 30. This is the foundation phase. In this phase, your only job is to build consistency, not perfection. Consistency. Go to the gym 3 times a week. Even if the workout is terrible, show up. Work on your mission 1 hour every day. Even if you're not productive, show up. Practice emotional control in small moments. 10-second pause before reacting. Every time. Read for 30 minutes daily. Philosophy, psychology, biography. Fill your mind with wisdom. Marcus Aurelius wrote his meditations not for others, but for himself. Daily reminders of how to be better. You need to do the same. Write down your standards. Read them every morning. Live them every day. Day 31 through 60. This is the momentum phase. By now, the habits are forming. The gym doesn't feel as hard. The work doesn't feel as heavy. The discipline doesn't feel as forced. This is when you increase intensity. Add a 4th gym day. Push harder in your workouts. Build real strength. Increase your mission work to 2 hours daily. Start seeing real progress. Build real momentum. Begin cutting out low-value activities. Too much social media. Too much mindless content. Too much wasted time. Start adding high-value activities. Reading more. Learning new skills. Meeting better people. Nietzsche said, "He who has a why to live can bear almost any how." By day 60, your why should be crystal clear, and the how becomes easier. Day 61 through 90. This is the breakthrough phase. This is when people start noticing. Not just women, Everyone. You carry yourself differently. You speak with more authority. You move with more purpose. Your body has changed. Your mindset has shifted. Your life has upgraded. And attraction? It starts happening naturally. Not because you're using tactics, but because you've become genuinely attractive. Women notice you more. Not because you're chasing, but because you've become worth chasing. This is the power of real transformation. It compounds over time. Now, let's talk about how you actually interact with women once you've started this transformation. Because knowledge is useless without application, and application requires a framework. Here's the formula: simple but powerful. Step 1. Lead the interaction. From the first moment, you set the frame. You decide the energy. You control the direction. Not with force, with confidence. When you approach or match with someone, you don't ask permission for everything. You make statements. You suggest plans. You lead. We should grab coffee this week, Tuesday or Thursday. Not, would you maybe want to hang out sometime if you're free? Do you see the difference? One is leadership. One is weakness. Machiavelli taught, "It is better to act and repent than not to act and regret." Lead. Even if you make mistakes, leadership attracts. Hesitation repels. Step 2. Maintain your mission focus. Even while dating, your mission stays primary. She sees this. She feels this. You don't cancel your important meetings for a date. You schedule dates around your mission. You don't abandon your goals to spend every moment with her. You invite her into your world. You don't make her the center of your universe. You let her orbit around your purpose. This isn't cold. This is attractive, because it signals that you're a man going somewhere. Jordan Peterson says, "If you fulfill your obligations every day, you don't need to worry about the future. Your obligation is to your mission, daily." And she respects that. Step 3. Hold your boundaries firmly. The moment something crosses your line, you address it. Calmly. Directly. Once. "I don't appreciate when you do that. Please don't do it again." No yelling, no emotional breakdown, just clear communication. If it happens again, you create distance. You reduce investment, you pull back, not as punishment, as natural consequence. Epictetus taught, "Don't explain your philosophy, embody it." Your boundaries are your philosophy. Live them without explanation. Step 4. Create emotional variance. You're not always the same. You have depth. You have complexity. Sometimes you're warm and open, deep conversations, vulnerability, connection. Sometimes you're focused and distant, working on your mission, in your zone, unavailable. Sometimes you're playful and light, teasing, laughing, not taking everything seriously. Sometimes you're serious and intense, deep eye contact, strong presence, masculine energy. This variance creates the unpredictability we talked about earlier. But it's real. Because you're actually complex. Carl Jung said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." And who you truly are is not one-dimensional. You contain multitudes. Step 5. Never chase. Always attract. This is the final piece. And it's the hardest for most men. When she pulls away, you don't chase. You focus on your mission. When she tests you, you don't react emotionally. You stay solid. When she creates drama, you don't engage. You create space. When she needs attention, you give it on your terms, not hers. This doesn't mean you don't care, it means you don't need. And not needing is the ultimate attraction. Everything I've taught you today is about the long game. Not quick fixes, not magic pills, real transformation. Arthur Schopenhauer wrote, "Talent hits a target no one else can hit. Genius hits a target no one else can see." The target most men aim for is getting a girlfriend, getting validation, getting approval. But that's the wrong target. The real target is becoming the kind of man who naturally attracts quality, who doesn't need to chase, who has options, who lives with purpose. Hit that target, and everything else falls into place. 5 years from now, where will you be? If you do nothing, you'll be exactly where you are now. Maybe worse. Because staying still while the world moves forward is actually moving backward. But if you start today, if you commit to this path, if you build yourself into someone genuinely high value, 5 years from now, you'll be unrecognizable, in the best way. Your body will be strong. Your mind will be sharp. Your mission will be progressing. Your standards will be high. Your options will be plenty. And the women who once seemed out of reach, they'll be pursuing you. Not because you tricked them, but because you earned it. Robert Greene says, "The key to power is the ability to judge who is best able to further your interests in all situations." But I'll add to that. The key to attraction is becoming someone whose interests are worth furthering. Be that man. Build that life. Create that reality. Before we finish, one last warning. Some of you will watch this video and do nothing. You'll say, "That was interesting," and go back to your old life. Some of you will try for a week, maybe 2, then quit when it gets hard. Some of you will use these patterns to manipulate and hurt people, and you'll pay the price. But a few of you, maybe 1%, maybe less. You'll actually do the work. You'll integrate these truths. You'll build yourself daily. You'll stay consistent when others quit. And in 6 months, a year, 5 years, you'll look back at this moment as the turning point. The moment you decided to become someone different, someone better, someone powerful. Plato said, "The first and greatest victory is to conquer yourself. Conquer your laziness, your weakness, your neediness, your excuses. Become the man these patterns describe, not through pretending, through building, and watch how the world changes around you." Machiavelli closed The Prince with these words, "It is better to act and repent than not to act and regret. Act now. Build now. Transform now. Your future self is watching. Don't let him down." This is the shadow mind. We speak truths that others fear. We walk paths that others avoid. We become men that others admire. If this video gave you value, hit that like button. Share it with men who need to hear this. And subscribe, because we're just getting started. Every week, we dive deeper into the psychology of power, the philosophy of strength, the reality of human nature. Next video drops soon. And trust me, what I'm going to reveal next will challenge everything you think you know about confidence. But until then, you have work to do. Arthur Schopenhauer said, "A man can do what he wants, but not want what he wants." You cannot control your desires, but you can control your actions. So act, build, transform. Become the man you're capable of being, not the man you've settled for. The world needs strong men. Men with purpose. Men with standards. Men with vision. Be that man. Starting today. I'll see you in the next video. Until then, stay sharp. Stay focused. Stay on the path. This is The Shadow Mind. And remember this, the strongest move in silence, but their presence speaks volumes. Now go. Your transformation begins now.